Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the GBC SPT page. We're very happy to be with you today. In observance of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur's disappearance day, we have a special guest, His Grace Krishna Abhishek Prabhu, in the academic world. He's known as Abhi Ghosh, Dr. Abhi Ghosh. And he's someone who did his PhD studying at a prestigious university here in America, Chicago University. And he focused on the teachings of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur in that study. So we're happy to have him with us today. Prabhu, thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So it's always a fun question to ask the devotees, how did you join? How did you come to Krishna consciousness? So that might be a nice place to start off for those who are not familiar with you. And then we could get into talking about the Thakur.
Okay. So, sorry, my daughter's cat is also here.
Making their debut appearance on the GBC SPT page.
He just left the door open. I have a 6-year-old, so anything, you know, she sings Hare Krishna, and also everything is possible, or anything. My family was nominally Vaishnava, you would say. On my mother's side, they were Vaishnavas much before the Gaudiya Math or anything was there. They were initiated. My great-grandfather, my grandfather on my mother's side would regularly read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and as was the custom in Bengali Vaishnava families, I was given Harinam initiation when I was 5 years old by my grandfather, Harit Bhushan Sarkar. And that was on my mother's side. And my father's side, they were donors and some kind of patrons of the Jagannath Puri temple. So we had our Jamindari, which is land ownership in Ichhapur, which is at the edge of Navadvip Mandal. And our house, or it's quite palatial, but back then, was taken over by the British government to make a gun factory. And that gun factory is still there. You can Google it up. Ichhapur Gun and Shell Factory.
Wow. Oh, so your home was turned into a factory?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a large place. It's a large house.
Like a compound.
Yes. Yes. But then my paternal grandfather, Harprasad Ghosh, he was a devotee of Lord Jagannath's, and our family deities have been, that tradition of worshipping Jagannath has been passed down for at least 300-400 years. And his great-grandfather was Bhaktivinod Thakur's first publisher. So they were friends. So my grandfather's maternal grandfather was an educationalist, Shailendra Sarkar. There is still a school by his name in Calcutta. And his Paddy Charan Sarkar. And Paddy Charan Sarkar, along with Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and others, were instrumental in bringing Western education to India. So some of my ancestors were involved in writing the first English textbooks, bringing the printing press, kind of helping this print, the print economy, so to say, boom during the colonial period. But in the middle of all that, they remained Vaishnavas in their own way, and that's where I got it from. In 1987, I think, no, before that, Bhavananda Maharaj, who was then in charge of Mayapur, he came and he asked us to become life members, so we became life members. And then he kind of became inactive for some time. He was dealing with his own personal issues. And then in 1990, see, the thing is, in our family, ISKCON was something very strange and foreign.
Mine too.
At least we have that in common. But they really appreciated that there are so many Western people who were coming and appreciating the mood and mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Mm.
It was very heartening for everybody. And then in 1991, I met Bhakti Charu Maharaj.
Mm.
And I would request all of us to think about him and send a prayer, no matter where we are on planet Earth.
Most definitely.
He's a great Vaishnava. He used to come to my house in Kolkata. And he kept encouraging me to make the best use of the culture I received from my family. So everything was going on already. But I never took Harinam seriously. Something you get it when you're 5 and you just
sure, yeah.
move on with your life. What's the deal? And so by the time I was 8 years old, I was given Srimad Bhagavat. This is the 80s, the small black print edition that was printed in, I think, Singapore or Japan or something.
Mm.
This is right after Srila Prabhupada left. So I read whatever I could, and my grandfather would explain whatever he could. He knew Bhagavatam very well. I didn't. And then in 88, we went to Mayapur for the first time.
Mm.
So Mayapur was a very interesting blend of Western culture and Krishna consciousness, or Krishna Bhakti. You know, the landscaping was perfectly done. Everything was like, everything was gorgeous and very well maintained. And, you know, we go to tirthas, but you never see this kind of, you know,
manicured approach.
Yeah, manicured tirthas in India. So that really touched us. And then 1992 onwards, my brother was born. 93, Bhakti Charu Maharaj started coming to our house. But this was also a time when there were some difficulties in the Calcutta temple. And so I was advised by my family to stay away from politics and just focus on bhajan. Because at the end of the day, then this is something even Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj said. That is, and you know, the world is like an ocean and the institution is the boat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are in the boat and you take buckets of water from the ocean and pour it into your boat, what's the point of a boat? The point of the boat is to keep rowing till you get out of the ocean.
To cross the ocean, right.
So similarly, consider an organization like ISKCON to be like a boat. It is meant to facilitate your bhajan, sadhu sangha, these things. And if you are basically, you know, you are taking the politics from the world and putting it in your boat, you're destroying the purpose of the boat.
Sure. So your family encouraged you to steer clear, but somehow you still wound up connecting.
Yes. Steer clear, not steer clear of ISKCON, steer clear of anything that was not directly Krishna conscious within ISKCON. So it says, you know, akamo sarva kamova moksha kamo, right? Bhagavat says that there are people with various levels of desires that come to Krishna. Some are akamo, they have no desire. Some are sarva kamo, they want everything. Some want moksha. And Krishna himself says, artho artharthi jigyashu gyani. So all kinds of people come. And Rupa Goswami says that you have to choose your association with. If somebody is not Surida, good-hearted, they cannot understand this. But among them, you also have to find those who are Saridaya. Saridaya means same-hearted, who have the same devotional goals. And so, yesterday I was kind of jokingly asking a devotee friend, what do you want? Do you want, when you are cultivating somebody, he says he was cultivating somebody. He says, what's our goal? To make them ISKCON devotees or Krishna devotees? And for some, there may be no difference. But if you look at Shastra and Siddhanta and Guru and Sadhus, ISKCON may be the platform through which you perform devotional service. But our aim is to become devotees of Krishna. And one time when Prabhupada was around, there were a group of his followers who started saying that worshipping Prabhupada is as good as worshipping Krishna. And Prabhupada says, you take me out of there, my movement is not.
He didn't like that.
So we must never forget this central point that Krishna is the Abhishta. Krishna is the main goal of everything. Krishna is the center. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhano Pran, Bhaktivinod Thakur says. Krishna is my father, my mother, Krishna is my wealth, and Krishna is my breath itself.
So that brings us back to Bhaktivinod Thakur. Somehow you came to the States and were pursuing a career in academia.
It was my idea. I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to come to America. You ask my mother, I was vehemently opposed to coming to America. I didn't even plan to leave India, so to say. So what happened in 1999, I was very kind of disillusioned by a lot of sociological dimensions of ISKCON. And I wrote a very strong letter to Tamakrishna Goswami saying that you are one of the, I was very young, but I said, you are one of the senior most devotees in the movement. You had been appointed GBC of India by Prabhupada himself. And there are all these things going on right under your watch. What are you doing about it? And he was not my guru at that point. So he wrote me a letter apologizing. And tomorrow, if we speak again, I'm happy to get those letters for you. And he said that there are sometimes demons in the guise of devotees who take unfair advantage of people. And we must therefore always be vigilant to stick to true Krishna consciousness. And then the next thing he wrote, he said, next time I come to India, I want to stay in your house and I will also initiate you. That wasn't exactly a part of my plan. But if you've met him, you know what kind of individual he was like. So he came to Kolkata, he lived in my house, he initiated, gave me, Harinam initiation had already happened. He gave me a mala and he gave me a upadhi name. Because, see, the thing is, within ISKCON, people think that getting a devotional name, you're finally initiated, join the club. But in traditional Gaudiya circles, when you get the title Das, it is a great honor. Your spiritual teacher is actually honoring you. And with your name, they're indicating the mood with which you should serve. So Tamakrishna Maharaj told me that Krishna Abhishek, and he says, he gave me some letters later on saying, your job is to combine academia and Sankirtan. And so I had no clue how to do that. He asked me to start a magazine. We discussed it back and forth, Hare Krishna magazine. I ran it for 2 years in India. I had no clue how to run a magazine, so he just told me, do it.
Old school.
Old school, very old school. And I did it. And then this might be difficult for some people to digest, but when I was with him, I was serving him in some capacity. And one time in my house, he closed the door and he brought me in, and then he took me in the bathroom, closed the bathroom door. And he was literally screaming and yelling at me inside the bathroom while there was kirtan going on outside and nobody could hear. And then long story short, he was saying, Prabhupada spent 4 years training me up and I will not waste it even if you want it. I was young, I didn't understand what was going on, but I was about to join the merchant navy because Lots of people in my family were ship captains and marine engineers, and my career was set. And you could spend a year traveling the world practically for free, and then, take 3-4 months off, and you earned in dollars and spent in rupees. And so it was magical. It was a good magic formula for upper middle class Indians. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, nothing doing. You are going to, if you want to be my disciple, you have to do what I'm saying. You have to surrender and you have to do what I'm saying. If you don't, you can go away and I will not look at you. So another friend and I, we were supposed to join Merchant Navy together. He went and joined Merchant Navy. He's still there. He's a good friend. And I said, okay, I'll give up my career for Gurudev. And he asked me to study the humanities. And I had no idea. And my family was like, if you take an English honors in Calcutta, first of all, only girls do that. It's a very because then they have some leverage in the when they're getting married, that our daughter knows his degree in English. It's a prestigious thing. And Gurudev was telling me, especially the night before he passed away, he and Radhanath Swami were talking. And then sometimes he would turn to me and tell me some things. So that time he said, you get a educational degree, you pursue academia, you study our tradition deeply. And before that, I had decided that I'm going to join the temple as a brahmachari. So I had my saffron clothes ready. And Gurudev called me and he kept interrogating me, Tamal Krishna Goswami style, till I almost broke down. But long story short, one of the final answers I gave him is, he said, why do you want to wear saffron? Why? And, and then I said, Gurudev, I want to be renounced. And he looked at me straight in the eye and says, you want to be renounced? You have to renounce the idea of being renounced. Then I'll accept that you're renounced. Like, okay. Says, don't wear saffron now. I have been a sannyasi for many years. I can tell you that this is artificial renunciation, what you're doing. You go to academia, you study our tradition deeply, and you teach as many people as you can. That's your responsibility. And then on 14th March 2002, I was in his room because he used to have these kirtans in the evening, every evening. And then my job was to clean up the bed and, prepare the bed for him and make sure everything is in order before he went to sleep. And the next morning, he was supposed to go back to Calcutta and catch the flight back to Cambridge. And he told me that you go to Calcutta right now. And I didn't want to go. I wanted to travel with him because if I sat diagonally opposite to him in the car, then I would get an opportunity to speak with him. I would just maximize my time. And he insisted many, many times, go Krishna Abhishek, go back now. Okay. And then that time, Vishwambhar, who's my friend and godbrother from London, was there. And Gurudev gave away all his money to Vishwambhar. He said, I don't need this anymore. You take it. So I was in Calcutta that morning. And then I heard the news from Nityananda Ramprabhu, who's my godbrother. He's currently in Delhi, that the driver fell asleep on the wheel and the car hit a tree near. And I didn't believe that. I thought he was joking. But as the hours went by, I heard the news that Vrindavaneshwari, Kalasambar Prabhu's wife, was sitting in the exact same spot where I was thinking of sitting the night before. And it was her birthday. And that morning, Gurudev gave her a copy of Servant of the Servant and wrote something in the lines of, I pray that you attain the feet of the Goswamis at the banks of Radha Kunda as early as possible, something like that.
Hare Krishna.
And so within 5 hours of that, she had passed away. And so what Vaishnavas do are mystical. It doesn't rationally make sense.
Now, had Maharaj given you any indication that you should study Bhaktivinod Thakur, or was that something you took up?
Yes. No, he told me. So when he was staying in my house, he asked me, where are the books of Bhaktivinod Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? And that time, we were new. And I said, Gurudev, everything is in Prabhupada's books. Oh, that made him furious. And he asked me why. And then I answered to the best of my ability. And then, long story short, he said, when you're reading Prabhupada, you are jumping over your Acharya. Aren't you? Have you read my books? And I said, no.
Mm.
And he said, the point is you must read Prabhupada's books very thoroughly, but you must also read Bhaktivinod Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Baladev Vidyabhushan, all the way to Rupa Goswami. And then beyond. This is our parampara. And so unless we align each and every one of these acharyas and step by step try to see what they're saying about Krishna, we will not understand what is Krishna Bhakti. So it's a lifetime work. It's not something you do in like 1 to 5 years.
Mm.
So I started my bhajan when I was very young, nominally, but I started seriously when I was 10 years old. And now I'm almost 40. So for 30 years, it was rigorous study and bhajan. And and now I realize that opening one's mouth before serious study and bhajan, sometimes it can create disturbance among others.
Mm.
So another time I've had this realization, this is conversations on Sankirtan. Being a book distributor is a matter of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One should want to be a book distributor. One should not be pushed. And book distributor means somebody who has thoroughly read the book and that book has changed that person's life. Right?
Mm.
And by word of mouth, that book becomes so precious to you that you know the message of the book at the back of your hand and you can speak with whoever you meet. Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. That is book distribution. And our common friend Hari Parshad Prabhu, I just told him the other day, I've never seen a book distributor like you in my life. Because you go to this website called archive.org and all our acharyas' works, they are being digitized and presented to the whole world. And he's translating them because those books have inspired him so much. He cannot do anything but share those books with others.
Yes, very good point.
That is Sankirtan. Kirtan means to glorify. So sometimes through singing, sometimes through speaking, sometimes through eating, sometimes through sleeping. Everything we do can be Sankirtan. And that is Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So those realizations Tamal Krishna Maharaj Gurudev gave me. And after he passed away, I was in a no man's land college in Calcutta. I was the second batch of students. But he encouraged me to apply to Oxford. I had no chance. But one of his, students, Travis Chilcott, who was at Oxford, and then later, one devotee from Sweden, Prono Prabhu, they helped me edit my application. I had no expectations, but then I got through Oxford. Well, after I got through, I had no money. So that's when I left home. I lived in Chopati Ashram. I was literally going from place to place, trust to trust, begging for money. They required 16 lakh rupees. I had nothing. And Gauranga Prabhu and Radhanath Maharaj, they know how much I struggled. And the money came by Krishna's grace. But I also suffered extreme poverty because once I went to England, the currency rates changed. So I had money for 1 year. Suddenly I realized that I just have money for 6 months.
Hare Krishna.
7 months. So, so one time I remember in winter we were walking. I didn't have money to ride a bus. I didn't have bus fare. So I used to walk to the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. And my soles went off with so much walking. Then it was a choice of, should I ride the bus or should I buy new shoes? And then money for food, and there was one Japanese devotee, Kiyokazu Okita, who used to kind of supply some money at the end of the month to buy me food. So there I did my master's dissertation on Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So on Rosh. Rosh means, how is it that the kirtan that Mahaprabhu is doing in front of Jagannath is non-different from the Rasa Leela? And that instruction was given to me by Radhanath Maharaj. He visited us in the beginning when I started. And he asked me, what are you most inspired by? And I said, by Jagannath. And he said, you can write something on go to Hey Krishna, Hey Jagannath. So I told Maharaj, done. I wrote that dissertation and it came out, part of it came out as an article in the Journal of Vaishnava Studies. And then at Oxford, I got admission at Cambridge, Oxford, all these places multiple times, but I had no money and they didn't give me scholarship because why was Jagannath relevant? Why was any of this relevant? So that year I resisted coming to the US with all my heart, and my mother said, you must go there. And that year I got accepted at 6 universities with various degrees of funding. And I went to Radhanath Maharaj and asked him, Maharaj, what should I do? And he said, you should go to Chicago.
His home state.
I did not know that. Why should I go to Chicago?
Maharaj is playing favorites.
And he told me, because I live there. I might going to Gainesville, Florida, at the University of Florida. I also got accepted at University of California, Santa Barbara, because Giriraj Swami was there. I wanted to be close to him. And Maharaj said Chicago. And I asked him why. And he said, because I live there. And I said, but why? He said, so we can spend some time together. I said, okay, done. So I signed the Chicago offer, sent it in. And I was so depressed in Chicago.
Horrible.
I had never seen so much snow in my life. And for the first time, I had some money in my hands, so I got an apartment that was in front of Lake Michigan. It was a beautiful apartment, penthouse and all of that. And Maharaj used to come there very often. But when winter came, this place was so cold. I was like, I had the building heater, room heater, everything on. And I was freezing to death. And Radhanath Maharaj would call me from time to time and say that I did my tapasya in the Himalayas in the snow, you do your tapasya in Chicago in the snow.
Yeah. Now, what was the program that your admissions was based on Bhaktivinod Thakur, a thesis or something?
Yes, it was a PhD in South Asian languages and civilizations. And I had the good fortune of working with 3 very eminent professors. One was Wendy Doniger, who she is not very liked by everybody, but she is actually a wonderful person. Dipesh Chakravarti, who is a historian, he kind of reshaped how history gets written in the 20th, 21st centuries. And Gary Tubb, who was the head of the Department of Sanskrit at Harvard. And then he switched over to Columbia and then came to Chicago, and he was on my committee. And I did not start out with Bhaktivinod Thakur. I just started out with exploring the entire ambit of all our Gaudiya Acharyas. So I kind of just kept reading and studying. So as Gurudev had told me, I went through Prabhupada's books, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, Bhaktivinod Thakur, then Baladev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti, in translation, not everything in original. Then Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, then Sanatana Goswami, then other books like Gunaraj Kha's Krishna Vijay. So I read the entire ambit of literature over 4 or 5 years. It takes some time to read all of that full time. And then I realized that Bhaktivinod Thakur was the pivot of our movement, because he is the one who, updates the whole thing in terms of how we can understand our acharyas. We live in a time where modernity is so mainstream that we don't even stop to think. the fact that we have electricity, the fact that we have internet, comes because of the European interest in expanding globally. And as Europeans went around and colonized various indigenous lands in the world, and we just had Juneteenth in the United States, like a couple of days back.
Sure.
There were reactions. There were people like, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, who was Bhaktivinod Thakur's colleague. He was a deputy magistrate, just like Bhaktivinod Thakur. And he wrote many novels and essays. And the slogan that united Indians to fight against British oppression, Vande Mataram, was written by Bankim Chandra. But Bhaktivinod Thakur was giving a much bigger point. And this is there in my dissertation. It's available for free, I believe, right now, online. It's called Vaishnavism and the West. It's available from the University of Chicago Library, but it's downloadable as a PDF.
Okay, maybe we can provide the link for that tomorrow. Sure.
But Bhaktivinod Thakur was not thinking in terms of nationalities. And so he wrote an article in 1985 called British Raj ebong Vaishnav Samaj, বা British Raj or Bhaktivinods, something like that, where he says that it is by the providence of destiny that the British are here in India. And we must understand that nothing happens without the Lord's desire. The British are like our younger brothers. In civilizational terms, they are in Grihastha Ashram. And we are in Vanaprastha Ashram, Indians. We have had a long opportunity to mature ourselves devotionally. So we should give our young Grihastha brothers the opportunity to serve the family in terms of practical things like earning money and spending in wars and all of that. And the elder brothers in the family should become the spiritual guide for the family. And so we can live together, we can cooperate, but exploitation is not right. So if they are exploiting here, it is our duty to correct our younger brothers and tell them, this is exploitation, this is not right. Let us be here in the same house ethically. And if they are short of money, then we will happily give them our money. Because what are elder brothers there for? And this article was written at the heels of what was called the Ilbert Bill, where the British government passed a legislation that said that brown people does not have the moral fiber to become judges for white people. And because Bhaktivinod Thakur was a deputy magistrate and he was a judge, and sometimes there would be petty British criminals in his court who said that this brown man does not have the moral right to judge me. So Bhaktivinod Thakur's idea was, that's not how we think. If somebody is a criminal, whether they're Indian or European, the rule of law must apply. But we must also think of this, our existence, not in terms of nation states, because nation states are artificial, they are modern. We must think of this as a planet. We must think of this as an ecosystem. And this was the main point of contention between most intellectuals, whether during Bhaktivinod Thakur's time or during Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada's time. That is, we divided the world up into ethnicities, nation states, language language and so on and so forth. Sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. And our acharyas, the Adi Acharya, Sri Krishna himself, gives the vision of a whole planet. There is a whole planet to save here, And so when we get there and start thinking, you are Indian, I am American, this is ISKCON, that is Gaudiya Math, it's like, the purpose of Krishna Bhakti is defeated. Krishna is telling us in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 1, verse 17, the Vasudev says that once upon a time, the world was overburdened by unscrupulous rulers, presenting themselves as kings. And Krishna appeared to save Mother Bhumi. Right? So Krishna is thinking as Mother Bhumi. We don't have a planet B. we are here. And Bhagavat, the whole Bhagavat is about Bhumi, Mother Bhumi. And so when we think of Maharaj Parikshit, who is the king of the whole world, we think, how can one person in India be the king of the whole world? Right? But it is not like that. It is not a political king. Of course, there were many political kings, but there was somebody who was a Rajarshi, a moral king. That means this person thought in terms of 4 values of Dharma in the Bhagavat: Satya, Socha, Tapa, and Daya. Satya is honesty, Socha is cleanliness, Tapa is responsibility, and Daya is kindness or compassion. So these are the 4 legs of Dharma. And all our acharyas have given their lives to practicing these 4 legs of Dharma and doing kirtan. So if Krishna, whatever Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Puran, can be understood through the lens of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are 3 teachings, very simple teachings. First is Dharma, that Prabhupada translates as 4 regulative principles. Second is Yoga. Yoga is bhakti, the practice of devotional service. And the third is prema. Prema is the experience of rasa, especially the rasa of love. Mahaprabhu says that this is Sambandha, Avidheya, and Prayojan. And all of Bhaktivinod Thakur's works speak just about this. There is nothing beyond this.
I'd like to come back to the point about institutions, because as you said, he's the pivot of the modern experience of the Krishna consciousness movement.
Yes.
And that seemed to be one of the unique elements that Bhaktivinod Thakur brought in, was the idea of an institution being necessary to carry Gaudiya Vaishnavism into the future.
Yes.
So where does that come from in Bhaktivinod Thakur's Vani?
Yes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never made any institutions. Nityananda Prabhu was a strategist and a community organizer. Advaita Acharya was an advisor, senior advisor. Gadadhar Prabhu was best friend and well-wisher without any other motive except for making Sankirtan happen. And Srivas Thakur was like service provider, donor, Srivas. Haridas Thakur was the proof that Krishna consciousness is not sectarian. And these 6 people, in Navadvip, they kind of created huge ruckus that we are still hearing about. And now, Mahaprabhu literally jumped into a rice paddy in Vrindavan and said, "This is Radha Kunda." It was somebody else's rice paddy, And so we do not know where the historical Radha Kunda is. We accept Radha Kunda because Mahaprabhu said this is Radha Kunda. Mahajana Jaina Kata Shipantha. And he told Rup Sanatan Goswami to develop Vrindavan as a place of pilgrimage so that people can be Krishna conscious. And they made the temples, the Madan Mohan temple and Damodar temple and so on and so forth. Only Jiva Goswami, what happened during Mahaprabhu's lifetime is that the Turkish had lost power and the Mughals came in. Indians tend to think of Islamic invasions. Yes, there were people who broke temples because, they thought it was a religious duty. But that's besides the question. We must also understand that first the Turkish came and then the Mughals came. And Jiva Goswami was operational during the Mughal period. So he had some farmans, farman means legal deed, that registered these places in Vrindavan so that others could not lay claim to these pilgrimage places. And in the Vaishnava Sambadini, Jiva Goswami says that the institution that he created for the legal purpose was called Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. So that was the first Gaudiya Vaishnava institution. There has been no other institutions such as that. So when the Mughals left after the battle of the first war of independence, which the British called Sipahi Mutiny, 1857, Bhaktivinod Thakur was very young. A few years later, when British Raj was formally established in India, and Bhaktivinod Thakur was a servant in the government, a government servant, he re-registered Vishwa Vaishnava Sabha, Vishnu Vaishnava Raj Sabha. And Jagannath Das Babaji was the oldest Vaishnava in that, who was living at that time in Navadvip, who is said to have met Baladev Vidyabhushan himself. So Bhaktivinod Thakur invited Jagannath Das Babaji and had him inaugurate Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur made 64 Gaudiya Maths around the country, but he never called them Gaudiya Math. If you look at his letterhead, he will say Secretary Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. And when Prabhupada came, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came to America, he made ISKCON, which is an English translation of Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. Vishwa means international, Shabha means society, and Vaishnava means for Krishna consciousness. But there is a fine thing here. We often think of Prabhupada as this, very strict, somber person, but Prabhupada was a Roshik. He knew humor very well.
Yes. And
he would tease people, but sometimes they wouldn't get his jokes. So ISKCON is a pun. It's a pun on Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. So International Society for Krishna Consciousness, if you translate the word consciousness back into Bangla, it will be Chaitanya. So it is an International Society for Krishna Chaitanya. Mane, this is a Shabha, this is a society that I am dedicating to Mahaprabhu, Krishna Chaitanya. This is a society for Krishna Chaitanya. This is supposed to be, we are supposed to be doing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. It's for Krishna Chaitanya.
That's a very sweet detail.
But at the same time, it is, who is Vaishnava? Who is Vaishnava? Vaishnava, ideal Vaishnava is Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Bhaktivinod Thakur writes in the introduction of his Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, repeats that same idea in English, saying, Chaitanya Charitamrita is not just the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya means consciousness, Charita means character, and Amrita means immortality. Mrita means earth, mortal. Amrita means immortal. So we live in this world out of fear of death, and we do things thinking that death, what do I do to make people love me? Because sooner or later I'll be dead. That is Mrita consciousness. That's Mrit means earth consciousness. That my body is made of earth, I'll be here for some time, let me make the best use of this. Bhaktivinod Thakur says yes, but flip it around. Instead of Mrita, make it Amrita. So when you realize there is, on the one level, you theoretically understand you're not this body. But when you start behaving, you're not this body. That is living in Amrita. So the nature of consciousness in immortality is Chaitanya Charita Amrita. So Chaitanya Charita Amrita is how people live their lives when they realize they are not this body and they taste Krishna Prem. And so International Society for Krishna Consciousness is Krishna Chaitanya Sabha, Vishwa Krishna Chaitanya Sabha, if you wanted to translate it into Bengali. It is a Sabha or a Samaj for Krishna consciousness. And then, because we are servant of the servant, we don't go directly to Mahaprabhu. We approach Mahaprabhu through one of our acharyas. And that acharya for Prabhupada is Vishwanath Chakravarti. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna Bhavanamrita. That means when you are lost in thoughts about Krishna, then that is Krishna Bhavanamrita. So, none of our acharyas are giving anything different. It's just that they have different moods of presenting their teachings. And so in Chicago, I had the opportunity to keep going back to India again and again, and getting lots of handwritten materials from Bhaktivinod Thakur. Some of them were just given to me. I inherited them. They are with me here in Michigan. Deva Madhava Prabhu, if you ever want to come and see.
Yeah, that's a close drive for me.
One of the original shloka of Amnaya Prahatatvam Harimiham Param Sarvasaktim Rashabdhim. We have a copy here.
Hare Krishna.
The Dashamul that Bhaktivinod Thakur wrote in his own handwriting. Some of his diaries and stuff. And then what happened is in 2009, I was in India on a medical leave, and then Pranab Prabhu, who was doing his PhD in Stockholm University in Sweden, came and said that there were some donors who had donated some money to make a library for the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. And he said, why don't you join forces, be a part of this? And said, sure. And Sundarananda Prabhu, who was the secretary of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, inherited Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur's library. And he had given that to His Holiness Bhaktivinood Bodhayan Maharaj. And so Pranab Prabhu and Bodhayan Maharaj were already in touch, but then he invited me to the scene, and I helped facilitate the dialogue. And I told Bodhayan Maharaj that these books do not belong to you or me, they belong to the whole world. So why don't you remain the custodian of the library, but we will be caretakers. And that on that agreement, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center in Kolkata was formed. And we started with 3,000 rare books. Now I think it's 18,000 books there.
Wow.
And so it is I would think that it is the heartbeat of our movement. All our history, our culture, everything is stored there. And right now, our Gauranga Prabhu from Chopati, he is the director. And they have received affiliation for he opened a branch in Mumbai. And then last year, he said, come to New York. And when Gauranga Prabhu says, come to anywhere, I don't say no. It was my birthday, and I had to cancel all my plans. Family was sitting here upset. And I went to New York. And then before I knew it, he invited the Consul General of India, and we inaugurated Bhaktivedanta Research Center in New York.
Very cool.
I didn't do anything. I was just there to...
You're the token academic.
I am the token academic, yes. So that library movement is spreading quite rapidly. And if you look at the original plan of our movement, what Mahaprabhu was doing was traveling around India and collecting books. Brahma Sangita, Sri Krishna Vijay, things like that. And he was creating a library that his followers like Rup Sanatan Goswamis would then refer to and create their own books. And every generation needs to engage with their circumstances. And this is why I think Prabhupada said, I have written my books, where are your books? Right? So joining the academia was, according to Tama Krishna Maharaj, equivalent to taking sannyas in the modern age. Mahaprabhu took sannyas because people would respect sannyasis. And nowadays, people respect PhDs. So PhD is like the invisible danda, according to Garuda Prabhu. And so I did what I did. The dissertation came out. Right now, I have a book contract with the State University of New York Press. The title of the book is Worlds of Devotion, Bhakti Universalism and Bhaktivinod Thakur. And then Lexington Books has a series called Indic Religion Series or something that is led by Jeffrey Long, who's a professor at Elizabethtown College in Pennsylvania. And he said that he wanted to have one of my books in his series. So I had translated the Tattva Viveka, not the Bhakti Tattva Viveka. It's a different book. I committed that book to them, and so that keeps me busy and keeps me out of trouble.
And that's a writing of Bhaktivinod Thakur's.
It is a writing of Bhaktivinod Thakur where he looks at various philosophical schools from around the world, Kant, Hegel, Schopenhauer, all of that, and gives a Krishna conscious commentary on that. So Srila Prabhupada tried recreating that book. Actually, whatever Prabhupada did was try to take Bhaktivinod Thakur's Bengali works and culturally translate that into English. All he tried to do.
So dialectic spiritualism?
Dialectic spiritualism is the Tattva Viveka. And one of the chapters in my book compares the two books and says, because dialectic spiritualism was done in a rush, I've spoken to Shamsundar Prabhu about it. He was one of the people who picked up a book from the railway station. It's like one of those Will Durant, like Introduction to Western Philosophy for undergrads. And he just kept reading this out to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada kept commenting. But even the summaries of the various philosophers were not on, and Prabhupada was not very proud of that work. Says this is not well done, and he wouldn't want to release it unless something was really well done. So after Srila Prabhupada left, that book was spread among devotee circles, because anything he says is transcendental in a Krishna conscious way. But there is a misrepresentation of Western philosophers by his followers, and that's why he didn't want it to go out. And that book is out of print. But if you look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first thing Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada does is reprints Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like life of precepts, right in the introduction. So you cannot understand this book unless you read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then in his commentaries, if you read the Krishna Samhita very carefully and you read Prabhupada's commentaries, you will see what Bhaktivinoda Thakur does in Krishna Samhita, Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Prabhupada does that. And then teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It is an expanded version of the Gauranga Lila Smaran Mangal Stotra. So everything Srila Prabhupada is doing, including buy land in Mayapur, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted Westerners to come here and have nice facilities so that they could engage in bhajan properly.
And that was a strategy of Bhaktivinod Thakurs.
Yes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur retired from his government service and went on the streets of Calcutta with a begging bowl. And everybody thought, why is this deputy magistrate judge begging in the streets of Calcutta? And he said, because we want to make Jogopit. What is Jogopit? So remember, Dharma is the first step. Second, Jog. Jog, many various forms of Jog, but Nam Jog, especially Prema Jog, attaining Krishna Prem through reciting the holy names, is the highest form of Jog. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw that there are people around the vicinity who had made it their family business. And they were saying, unless you come to me, you cannot get this. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, no, here are the books, anybody can get it. And so he built that temple called Jogopit. It is the ultimate peat, the ultimate pilgrimage for all yogis. Because Mahaprabhu himself appeared there. And that is the Adbhut Mandir. Adbhut Mandir is not known by the grandeur of the structure. I had written to a few people, and I have also spoken to one or two of the managers of the new temple of Vedic Planetarium. That is as Vaishnavas, we must remain humble, and we must not become proud of the grand structure we made with whatever $40 million or something. Krishna owns the money of the entire planet. What is $40 million? Nothing. But we want to be there in Mayapur with this temple of Vedic Planetarium as a servant of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he himself begged on the streets of Calcutta to make Jogopit and called it Adbhut Mandir. Adbhut means astounding, amazing. And also strange. Why strange? Because nobody really knows where the birthplace of Mahaprabhu is. The river shifted so many times. But here is where we found the Adhokshaja Murti, very ancient. But more importantly, here is where Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj came and said, yes, Harinam Sankirtan has to be inaugurated from here, and it will spread across the world. And Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj said that this whole place was a jungle. But in the middle of that jungle, Saraswati Thakur was writing his books and constantly meditating how to take this around the world. I don't have any money. I don't have any people. And he had that famous dream that he wrote about, saying, Bhaktivinod Thakur, Gaurkrishna Das Babaji, everybody came to him and he says, Saraswati, you are so worried. Why are you worried? All the main money, whatever you need will come to you. You just take whatever Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given you and you share it with everybody. So even if his own guru told him, don't go to Kolkata because Kolkata is Kali's palace, the palace of Kali himself. He went there, and the first temple he opened was Bhaktivinod Ashan, number 1 Ultodanga Road. And tomorrow I can tell you the story of how we got back that place. Anangamon Prabhu, Radharaman Prabhu and others were involved. And they invited me to go to Calcutta Municipal Corporation and register that as a heritage site. So I had to suit and pant, and that is where the University of Chicago pedigree helped. Because I came back to Kolkata as a scholar from the University of Chicago, and everybody listened to me. Before that, I was saying this house needs to be saved. Nobody was listening.
Well, you're carrying your danda now.
I'm not carrying any danda. If you are able to see anything invisible with your transcendental vision, that's your greatness.
So we have just a few minutes before today's broadcast is going to finish up. So maybe you can give us an idea. Maybe that you mentioned in our talk before, you have those 2 books that you're printing now about Bhaktivinod Thakur's work.
Contract. The contract. The first one looks at the word world. From the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Prithibi porjanto joto ache deshogram sarbotra sancharito hoibe mor naam. Or in every town and village across the world, these names that I sing, or my names, will be planted. And Bhaktivinod Thakur says that don't think that this is like poetry. This is Mahaprabhu saying you have to be convinced that he means it. And so in his commentary, he says that Prithivi doesn't just mean Bharatvarsha or Europe. Prithivi means Americas, Australia, everything. So my book starts with Christopher Columbus and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are contemporaries. And I say that Christopher Columbus was constantly meditating how to come to India so that he could get the gold, silk, and spices. He wanted the wealth of India, and the Portuguese had already colonized the route, and so he couldn't go by the route, and he wanted therefore to go to India via the western route. And somebody told him the earth is flat and he might fall off. And he says, okay, I'll take that risk. And when he reached the West Indies, he thought it was India because people were dark and they were gold. And at the same time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the other side of India is thinking, okay, how will I take this wealth of India and take it around the world? Right? And so there are 2 contemporaries on 2 parts of the world, one in India, one in Europe. They're constantly meditating about India's wealth. Christopher Columbus is meditating on India's gold, silk, and spices, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is meditating on India's real wealth, which is the Golokero Premodhano Harinama Sankirtan. It's the ultimate wealth of the spiritual world, Harinam Sankirtan. So Mahaprabhu is thinking how to give it. So I take one spot where Ramkeli, Mahaprabhu says that Prithivi porjanto joto ache deshogram. And then that's where I enter into the discussion of Bhaktivinod Thakur. How is Bhaktivinod Thakur trying to make that prediction successful 400 years later? And Bhaktivinod Thakur actually gave a whole blueprint on how to engage with the Western world. It's just that we don't know. We haven't read it. But he sent his books to Harvard and Columbia and Australia. He sent his books everywhere. They're sitting in our libraries. And he sent it for people like you and me. You go read my books. The blueprint on how to make this possible is there. And this is why when Prabhupada came to the West, the first thing he did, told Satsvarup Maharaj, you make sure my books are distributed to all the university libraries. Because intelligent people, will look beyond the limitations of language. Because Prabhupada's English wasn't, our English. Our English is very different. And Rasamandala Prabhu, and I'll finish with this, Rasamandala Prabhu once said that he was giving a seminar on Prabhupada's life and said that Srila Prabhupada left the planet in 1977. Makes sense to you, Devamada Prabhu?
Sorry?
If somebody says this devotee left the planet in this year, we say left the planet. In this gathering, some newcomer raised her hand and said, was Prabhupada an astronaut? Because for them, left the planet means something very different from what it means left the planet to us.
Right.
So Shakespeare in English needs translation for our age. Similarly, Bhaktivinod Thakur's English and Bangla needs translation for our age. And the further we move away from Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada in time, his books will also need translation for contemporary audiences. And if you look at Prabhupada's books carefully, that's what he wanted. He said, take my books, write it in your own language, and speak on these books. You don't do anything else. Right? Our hour is over.
It is, but I'm filled with questions for tomorrow. So I think this would probably be a good jump off point, is this the description of world that you gave, and how Bhaktivinod Thakur gave this framework for interfacing with the Western world. I myself like to conceive of him as the architect of our modern movement. So I love that you used the metaphor of a blueprint. So maybe we can begin from there tomorrow.
Sure, you guide me and I will speak. I'm a very disorganized person, so you be my boss and I will execute whatever you tell me.
Well, brilliance is unpredictable, so that's how it goes. But we're grateful that you've spent the hour with us, and it's wonderful to have the association of someone who's in Vaishnav culture as a lifestyle from the beginning. It brings a different flavor to the discussion, and from my side at least, I can say it's very sweet. So thank you.
Thank you.
Abhishek Prabhu, professionally known as Dr. Abhi Ghosh, and we look forward to being with you again tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Devan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.